Okay, Mary, welcome to our mobile studio. Thank you for coming.
I love it. It's nice to get outside in the fresh air. I love it.
I'm really glad my kind of romantic picture in my head came true, because I imagined that you will, come here with your camera in your hand.
Yeah.
You have it over there, so that's good. You're taking pictures, a lot of pictures here in Prague?
I always like to have my camera on me, and yes, I have actually been taking pictures and filming on my phone, and it's a very inspiring, beautiful city.
So you walk around, Prague and Designblok and
Yeah.
seeing things, taking pictures.
Yeah, I've been doing two types of pictures. One sort of like what I would call reference pictures, where you kind of just take a picture to remind me of something, maybe for an idea in the future. And then some other ones which are more like, that I could use in the future. You never know.
Does it differ which machine you use, like the camera or the smartphone?
I try to take pictures on the real, what I call a real camera. Although the smartphones are quite interesting. I do this thing called #someone, which is more like if I'm wandering around in the city and then I see something or somebody interesting that catches my eye, I take a quick picture on my smartphone and then I can post it on my social media with #someone. And that's really interesting because as a portrait photographer, when you put up a smartphone, people are a lot less scared. When you pick up like a professional camera, people can get a bit more intimidated.
Yeah, they somehow try to make a pose, make
Yeah,
kind of stature.
and the type of pictures that I like to take are less posed and a bit more connected and collaborative with the person. So I like to try and make them a little bit relaxed.
That's something I wanted to ask you about, like what are you looking for in these pictures? Because I've seen this a little commercial you have posted on your website. It's for the Leica camera. When you just walk around and you see a bird and you see somebody dancing and you take a picture. So what is it that you want to take the picture of?
I mean, my style of photography, I have a few different ways I like to do it. Like I kind of be commissioned to take a photograph, or maybe a personal project in quotation marks, which is something like with the Royal Ballet. I approach the Royal Ballet and say, may I come and will you invite me in? And then the third is just wandering around with my camera, keeping my camera with me and keeping my eyes open and like just looking at everything. Because often anything can be interesting to me, like just it could be like graffiti on a wall with somebody walking by and you just catch the moment, and that kind of thing can be interesting. So yeah, I think it's keeping my eyes open. I think a lot of photographers, we just have a way of looking at things. I look at things like I'm composing it like a picture, like I'm looking at you now, I'm looking at the light on you, and how I would do that.
So do I look good?
Yeah,
right
you look
now,
good, but I probably would get you to move a bit to get the light in your eyes a little more. There we go.
This is better.
There we go.
Okay.
That's it.
Try to make a
That's
pose
it.
for you.
Let's do it. Oh,
So you're taking picture right now.
I'm going to. Yeah,
Okay.
when I get the camera. Yeah, we go.
I'm sad that it's not live, right now, because that would
There
be
we
an
go.
interesting moment to
You're
broadcast.
You're done.
Being taken picture of.
Yes, I did. You're now going into my archive.
Perfect.
Forever.
That's an honor.
Thank you.
To be in your archive between the Royal Ballet dancers and the Queen.
Yeah.
And your father probably.
Yeah.
So, but I was thinking, like the installation you have here, the photos you have here in Prague. There are more, or as I see it, there are more staged kind of,
There's a
prepared.
combination. Yeah, there's a combination. Yes, because the gallery is quite a beautiful loggia, and it's my photographs down one side on this beautiful wall with panels, and on the other side it's got these beautiful ornate windows, and you can see out to the river and the castle. So it's super inspiring space. And so I suppose when I look at an exhibition I'm invited to show somewhere, I look at the gallery space first, and then I select the images around that. So within these pictures, there's sort of a, I think maybe a luxury to them, maybe they seem a bit more formal. Having said that, there's a real sort of spontaneity to them as well. So some of them are like outtakes from a fashion show or behind the scenes of a fashion show. And then I'm always looking for they're not the pictures, you know, from that set of pictures. I would pick something and that's ended in the gallery. Like there's a picture of Mila Jovovich, which looks like quite a formal portrait, but it's her in her own clothes without her makeup on before she went and put on this beautiful ball gown and had her makeup done. But she's trying on this incredible diamond necklace that was, you know, going to be part of the photo shoot. So it's sort of very informal with this beautiful sort of crafted diamond necklace, which made it very glamorous.
The picture I really like, and you took it here to Prague, is the Tracey Emin dressed as Frida Kahlo, which is obviously, I mean, stage. You know, she has this makeup and the eyebrows, so she really looks almost precisely as Frida Kahlo, and it's interesting. Normally, I like these moments, you know, just somebody walking on the street, but this one. And you mentioned the gallery. This picture is right next to the window with a beautiful view out of the window. It looks surreal somehow, you know, to Frida Kahlo next to this Prague panorama. That's a really nice moment for me from the gallery.
It's interesting you say that, because in a way I really agree with you in that a lot of my work isn't as staged as that. Like, to get that photograph, I needed to approach her and say, may I come take a photograph of you, and I have to arrange making you look like someone else, which isn't my usual style. It just sort of happened to come up that I love beds, and like I love being, you know, within my career, what really is special is if I'm allowed into somebody's home or their bedroom in particular. I love beds, and like I think your bed is your most personal possession.
It's very personal,
and it's where you know, you don't invite many people into your actual bedroom, so to be allowed into a space. So within me daydreaming about beds and how much I like to photograph them, it made me think of Tracey Emin, and her work is, a lot of her pieces are around, you know, she has some famous pieces around her bed. And then it made me think of Frida Kahlo and how she had to do so much of her work in her bed and painted in her bed. So it sort of came up that way. And then I did it kind of in my style. I used a daylight, and it's in a daylight studio, and so it's sort of interesting. It's become one of my most sort of well-known photographs, but also it's because it's collaboration. And Tracey, I didn't know Tracey Emin. I met her on that day, and I really didn't know what way the photo shoot was going to go. How
she would react on the requests and so on.
Yeah, and because she's very direct. She's very direct. She says what she thinks. She's kind of doesn't have time for things she doesn't want to do. She's very, you know, straightforward that way, which I admire, because I sometimes can be overly polite and end up doing something I don't want to do. So she was very inspiring that way, and she really connected with me that day, and through Frida Kahlo, which is so interesting because Frida Kahlo died years ago, but we connected that way. And when I started photographing her, I could really feel her feeling Frida. It's called Being Frida because I really felt like she was channeling her. So yeah.
It's interesting you say you didn't know Tracey before the shooting, because that's something I was thinking about. Like how much do you need to know the person? You know, how much do you need to be prepared for him, or is it better for you to, when I take it to the other extreme, like to you know, to take a picture of the complete stranger for you?
It works both ways. If I'm photographing somebody I really know, then it's great because I know them, so I know what they'll do, what they won't do. I can kind of create, because, you know, often I think of a location and you know, what we're going to do, so that helps that way. In the same sense, it can sort of be a bit of a thing where I want to make a photograph that they like, so then I have to sort of push part that and do what I feel is I need, and, you know, for the viewer. And if I don't know someone, then I'm kind of picking the location, figuring out what I want from them, and I don't know them, so I'm like, are they actually going to do this? Are we going to connect? Is there going to be like a chemistry between us? But that's good. It keeps me on my toes, and I do enjoy that. I mean, a lot of people because of my background and my surname, a lot of people are like, oh, Mary McCartney taking pictures of all her famous friends. And it's like a lot of the people that are well known in my photographs, I literally meet on that day. If I've been commissioned by a magazine or something, I'm like, I don't know that person. So yeah, it's sort of interesting. It's like I'm building up this whole world of what I want to do, but I don't know that person. So that keeps the intrigue and keeps me interested and excited, I suppose.
But to be fair, you have a lot of famous friends now. I've seen, and I really like the picture of the Cara Delevingne. That, you know, she's. I think it was some fashion show, and she was in the middle of preparation, and a lot of stylists around her, and she, you know, kind of like blinks at you. That's a very friendship moment for me.
It's a good connection in the chaos, isn't it? I mean, I didn't know her really very well when I took that. I don't know if she knew me. Obviously, I knew her. But that's great, because I like you pick up on that, because I love behind the scenes. And that was behind the scenes of a fashion show when she was in the chair and like she's getting her hair and makeup done at the same time. It's like you've got to be quick. You need to get the clothes on. You need to be on the stage, on the catwalk. And it's like very time, you know, sensitive. And I just sort of connected with her. We got the eye contact, and then she kind of did that look direct to the camera, and I caught that moment. So again, it's about sort of having your eyes open and watching what's going on. So I think because I grew up watching my mum and dad perform in the band Wings and touring around with them, I know what goes on, like how much hard work goes on to make that beautifully glamorous show. And so when I watch, you know, I often try to get behind the scenes at events, like behind the scenes of the theatre or behind the scenes of the Royal Ballet, because I like to show the hard work and the grit and the grind, you know, what goes on to sort of bring that to the viewers' attention. Yeah.
I have to admit, I was a bit surprised. Obviously, I knew your mother was a photographer, and you talk about it quite a lot, that you kind of inherited this love for photography. I have to say, I didn't know that your father is a great photographer too, or really I didn't know that much about that. And you talk about their style, as that they had this kind of similar style of photography, and that you have pretty much the same style. That was surprising for me.
And I found it surprising because he, in the, like 1962, 63, each of the Beatles was given a Pentax camera, 35mm camera, and there was 3 months where Dad took pictures, like in the dressing room, on the, you know, in the car, going to a venue. And then in the crowd, like getting to Miami. It kind of finished when they went to America. And he had an exhibition, and he and I talked, you know, we're close, and we were talking about these pieces, and he was like, oh, I had these pictures, but I think they're lost. And then the woman that runs his archive was like, no, they're here. Found them. And then when I saw the exhibition the first time, I was like really surprised, because I worked in my mother's archive, so I've looked through all of her pictures. And I was like, wow, there are pictures that are directly similar to a picture that my mum took. And it was like 5 years before they even met each other. So it's sort of like super interesting. And then I'm like, wow, that is really similar to something I would take. So then when people say, oh, what photographers influence you? I was kind of like, I feel like rather than influencing me, I've kind of inherited that style. So it's sort of in my DNA. And that's been really kind of quite touching to see over the last couple of years and connect up all the dots.
But when you think about it, it's really a bit surreal, because I was looking for your famous picture. I asked ChatGPT, what is the most famous picture made by
I bet
Mary
I know
McCartney?
what you're going to say.
Well, the result, like, of your famous pictures, like the pictures you take, we will get to that. But the most famous, your most famous picture is you covered in the jacket.
I knew you were going to say that.
And when you think about it, like a photographer taking a picture of the photographer, covering a future photographer, which all have the same style. This is something like 4D thing, you know.
And as you were saying, you like those kind of pictures that were taken like in the street very spontaneously. That was like this most spontaneous picture. Like they'd been for a horse ride. He zipped me up in his jacket to keep me protected to go out for a horse ride. And then I think I think it's sort of an odd picture, is why it's so... It's kind of a bit weird, like a little baby poking out the head. Just like, but also the light...
It looks a little bit like a selfie.
Yeah, the light is incredible, and it's in Scotland, and it was at the end of the day, and it's that beautiful golden hour warm light. Yeah, I often find that crazy because it's like such a spontaneous family photo, and also at the same time one of the most famous photographs taken.
Plus, I love your father's beard era. I don't really like the beginnings of Beatles, you know, these clean boys playing nice music, but this kind of rough, cowboy-ish look. It's, I don't know, it's something really. I like this era of your father, like after the famous Beatles, you know, touring around the world.
Yeah, really interesting, because I think with the photographs in the exhibition, each one is picked as a photo to stand alone on its own, and also they're all taken throughout different times and different locations. So then I need to pick an individual image that then sort of relates to the other one, even though they were very at different times.
No.
And then I'm always thinking, well, I know how I feel about this picture, but I wonder if the viewer, I want them to pick up, like, even if they don't know the story, it doesn't really matter, because it's like, will they pick up on the feeling behind it? And you saying that, you've picked up on that, because it was like they were living in a remote farm in Scotland. It was very funky. It wasn't a professional shoot. So that is very nice for me to hear. I think you don't have to know the story. You can feel it within the image, and that's what is so powerful about photography.
Yeah. Back to the my search before, like, what do you think?
I'm intrigued to know the answer to this.
I have my own answer, but I'm interested in your answer. Like, what do you think that is the most famous picture you took?
I would say maybe the Kate Moss sipping.
Oh yeah.
And maybe the Tracy Emin as Frida.
I guess,
is that right?
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure if there's a right answer.
I don't know.
The Royal Ballet obviously is very famous, like the whole collection.
Off Point.
Yeah.
It's called Off Point because it was all them off stage, out of the rehearsal room. Yeah. And I was so passionate about that project. Like, I loved them so much. And they really trusted me. Like, I would go and I'd stay on like the little sofa bed in the hallway and arrange to, you know, I wanted them at home at the end of the night in the bath, like tending to their feet, and, you know, after a really long day, because they're in the dressing room in rehearsals from like 10 a.m. And then if they do a performance, it finishes at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. So that's like a long day within the same building. And then I'd follow them home and sort of having a bath. But it was so much trust. And then in the morning I slept on the sofa. I was like, when I hear your alarm come off, I'm going to come into the bedroom and start taking pictures. It was all pre-agreed. So it has a real authenticity to it, because I kind of was like, oh, I want you in the morning. And it was like, well, if I get there at 6 a.m, you get up and you let me in, and then you go back to bed, then that kind of doesn't feel real. So I stayed with them, and I just loved them. So I'm glad that came up on ChatGPT.
So how long did it take to take all these pictures?
I did that study over 3 months. Because it's interesting to know when to finish. Like, I often find the most challenging thing is when to stop taking pictures. If I'm doing a study, like if you see one moment, then you know. But if you're doing an actual study, you're like, when to stop. And that was kind of interesting, because I started May, June, July. I started in May, and then in July they stop for summer holiday. Like at school, they stop, and then the Opera House takes over. So it was really good. It was like, okay, now I'm done. But I'm still friends with them. Most of them, or all of them? The main ones that I kind of went and stayed with, yeah.
Obviously, the other very, very often quoted picture is the picture of the Queen Elizabeth II.
Of course.
Which is kind of, you know, amazing. And again, I love, you know, how she reacts on you. It's something like that. She just, you know, doing something at the table, and suddenly Mary McCartney says, "Okay, Queen, look at me. I'm taking a picture."
I mean, that is kind of how it looks, isn't it? Yeah, it kind of was a bit like that. I was asked to go there. It was really, my husband knew the head of the press department there, and they invited me in, and they were like, in September she's going to be the longest reigning monarch in British history. Would you, she would, we want a portrait to release. It needs to be top secret. So I couldn't tell anyone, and they said the other thing is we want it, she wants it as well, because she was very always in control of what she did, which I loved. I didn't realize that everything she did, she kind of had to agree first. She wasn't told what to do by anybody, which I really loved. It was like she wants to do, like, they wanted me because it's like they want my style, like informal and like everyday kind of feeling, and so she wanted to be seen like a working queen. So it's her with her red box with the papers, and I took a little sneak inside. All the papers were in there, and then I kind of set it up near the window so it's natural daylight. And it was just me and one assistant. I shot it on film, and I think doing that meant she engaged with me much more, because if you have a big team of people around you, then the subject just gets really distracted by everybody. Yeah. So she stayed very focused with me. So yeah, I'm glad that, I mean, it worked well. I think that was the most scary photo shoot, because that's one that you just cannot go back and ask to do again.
And how many scenes did you try? I mean, this is obviously the best one, or the one you chose, but was there like, okay, let's try a different way to do it? You didn't have that much time.
I had very short amount of time, and this is interesting because nobody else has asked me this. So I actually went there 3 times. And the last time I was like, I'm going to come in. They were like, you can come in early and you can set up. And when she comes in, you can take more like a sitting portrait. Because they were like, come in and you can just follow her around and take pictures. She does not stop moving. So they were like, it was the summer exhibition. They were like, we come along this hall and then she'll stop at this Rembrandt, because she didn't do what they thought she would do. And then, the next time it was her coming out of her private residence as she was going to she just moved too quick. So I was like, I need to sit down with her. And so the 3rd time is when I got the picture.
And it's lovely. I mean, it's the queen, but she looks, I don't know how to say it. I want to say natural.
She looks, there's a warmth to her.
Yeah.
She was very connected. And I think it was also, the term, she doesn't suffer fools gladly. Yeah. It's like, I just was like, don't annoy her. Don't have a lot of people. Stick to the etiquette. Have respect, but don't be too pandering. And don't keep her too long. Like, she knows she's done this before. So she sat down. I engaged with her. I spoke to her. I took like 2 rolls of film, and then I said, thank you, Your Majesty. And then she left. And I think she was happy because I wasn't wasting her time.
And how did she react on the photo? Like when she saw it for the first time or first few times, and like, well, was there any reaction?
I didn't do the edit with her, but I did hear from her team that she was really happy with it, which made me happy.
That must be a nice feeling.
I once took pictures of Sigourney Weaver, the actress from Alien, who I love, and the highest compliment afterwards, she got in touch a couple of months later and asked to have a print of that for her personal archive. And that to me is like the ultimate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I have one more topic, because obviously you're here as a photographer, you have an exhibition here, but I'm super interested in your, in your take in sustainable food. Mm-hmm. Because again, and that's again a little bit surreal for me that you inherited it after your mother. Even your father is very motivated to promote sustainable food, plant-based food. How did that happen? I mean, was they always like vegetarian, and you just grew up in a vegetarian family, or how did it start?
I did grow up in a vegetarian family. I was probably like 6 or 7, maybe younger, 5 or 6 or 7. And Mum and Dad came and they sat us down at the table, and they were like, look, we're going to go vegetarian. You can do what you want outside of this, which, we didn't really need to because my mum was such a good cook. And I think we were quite happy as long as, like, my husband's vegetarian. He's like, as long as we, have good food, he's happy. And they said, look, what happened was they were in Scotland at the farm where that picture and the jacket was taken, and they were eating lamb. And then they looked out the window and they had sheep, and they were like, oh, look at those cute lambs. And then they looked back at their plate and they were like, we're eating that leg of a leg of that animal. And I think once you associate the animal with the food on your plate, so they were like, we're just going to be vegetarian. And my mum was a very good cook. And then I grew up, you know, watching her cook, and the kitchen was the heart of the home. And I would then, as I got older, I'd cook for her. And then when I left home, I was like, I was like, oh, wow, I'm now an adult. Do I stay vegetarian or not? So I actually tried it. I was working as a picture researcher in Soho in London, and I tried like a tuna sandwich. I thought it was delicious. But then all I could think about was the beautiful tuna swimming in the ocean, and it's like such a beautiful fish, and having it plucked out and like ground up and put into a sandwich mixed up with mayonnaise, it just was like, and digesting in my body just was like, I was like, I can't think of it as food. So, and then we promote, Stella, my dad and I kind of promote Meat Free Monday for like the last, since 2013, and that I love it because I don't like to be preachy about it, because I do think if you want to eat, you know, more plant-based or vegetarian, there's so much information about the industry and animal cruelty and animal welfare and the environment and health. So I like to share recipes, and because, you know, some people are like, we do Meat Free Monday, but I kind of need ideas of what to cook. And as I've grown up vegetarian, and I love cooking, and I love cooking for people and making people happy through simple comfort food. That's how it started. And then I have you seen, I did a book called Feeding Creativity, which merged, is what I'm most happy with, because it merges my portrait photography and food for the first time in a way that I'm most happy with. I would cook a meal for somebody and take it, say, you know, for instance, David Hockney, which was one of my, you know, I'm a big admirer of his art. It's like, can I bring you some lunch? And I took him a tart, and I took a picture of him. I write the anecdote of our time together and share the recipe. And then I did the food photography, which is not my favorite thing, but I had to make it look appealing to sort of tantalize people's taste buds.
But it all connects, you know, with you. Like you're vegetarian, you're photographer, you're documentarist. You have a cooking show, you know, promoting plant-based food again. So you kind of need to, you know, put it all together, like, you know, bring somebody food and take a picture.
Yeah, I mean, I like to try to make people feel good in some way. I mean, that sounds a bit light, like there needs depth to it. But I think chemistry and human connection is very important, especially at the moment where it's very difficult to look at the news these days. I think for me, I could go down like quite a depressed route, and the way to sort of get through it is to not hide from it, but my thing is like connect with people, and from there, if we can make each other feel good, we can make a difference that way. That's sort of my belief.
I like the idea of making somebody's life better with the food, and plus with sustainable food. That's something I really like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do think that the food industry is quite a broken system, and I don't believe, I'm not like, you can't eat meat and I'm brilliant. I think I'm not perfect at all, and there is no real easy solution to what's been kind of where we've got to. So I really think like to try and not judge each other is really important to me, and to have an open conversation and not to sort of argue about stuff. Like I love an open conversation with somebody that isn't like trying to tell me off. It's like, okay, we may not agree with each other, but let's have a chat about it and see if we can come to a middle ground and some kind of solution to it.
Okay, Mary, thank you very much for coming here. Thank you for the interview. Good luck with the plant-based initiative.
Thank you. And thank you. I've really enjoyed your questions and, you know, your point of view.
Thank you very much.